You know, everyone, videos around here have been pretty negative as of late. And as much as wallowing in misery brings in the views, I want to talk about something in a more positive light to brighten the mood today. So, we're going to springboard off a video I made a few months ago featuring one of the worst games I've ever looked at to the greatest turnaround a game studio has ever made. Going from a barely playable, non-functional excuse for a tech demo to one of the most beloved and nostalgic Dragon Ball games ever made. In spite of its objective quality, the first Legacy of Goku game created by Webfoot performed very well, more or less solely on the back of being a Dragon Ball game available in America in the early 2000s, but that's all it really took back then to sell over 1 million units. And that's all it took for the game to be green-lighted for a sequel almost immediately. Legacy of Goku 2 already one-ups its predecessor by... What is that? That's the real European cover? What in the lazy marketing was going on in PAL regions back then? They just didn't even begin to give a shit, huh? Only 2 characters are correct on this thing. Debatably only 1, depending on if you think this is Super Saiyan 2 Goku or not. Buu Saga Vegeta, Adult Gohan, and Kid Trunks, who is not only the wrong age, but not even the correct person. Oh, that's good mid-2000s jank. Where was I? Legacy of Goku 2 already improves on the first from the title screen and opening sequence alone. Rather than a short text blurb that drops you abruptly into the gameplay, you get an atmospheric slow build, showing us that the world has been nearly destroyed by a pair of cybernetic humans simply called Android 17 and Android 18. All of the world's greatest warriors were no match for them and were all wiped out years ago. All that remains now is an adult Gohan and a teenage half-Saiyan named Trunks. Gohan is not only one of the few people Trunks even knows who's still alive, he's also his teacher, trying to train his student to transform into a Super Saiyan so that maybe the 2 of them can finally end the androids once and for all. I know most of you already know this stuff, but I just want you to see how much better of a job this game does at presenting its narrative compared to the original. Legacy of Goku 1 was worthless as a method of experiencing the story of Dragon Ball, which, as I elaborated on in that previous analysis, was a very important aspect of early DBZ games when that media was less readily available. Over half of the events were missing. What was there was either nonsense or skim past in the blink of an eye. It was a disaster of structure and storytelling, and certainly doesn't instill any sense of confidence into you for the sequel. But when you see Gohan leave to fight the androids himself, knocking out Trunks so he doesn't get involved, when he awakens during a storm that night and hurries to find his master, only to come upon Gohan's lifeless body laying dead in the rain, when he finally snaps at having his only remaining friend in the world taken away, you get the feeling this one's gonna be different. Back in the present, after the defeat of Frieza on planet Namek, we see Gohan studying as he waits for his father to return from space. He decides to take a break and sneaks out the window so Chi-Chi doesn't see him slacking off. Oh god, no! No, not yet. We're safe. For now. Oh, fantastic. I see Webfoot hasn't learned anything. The last game had some lazy plot skipping, but just slapping Goku right here at the start of the game... Okay. I just need to be transparent and warn you here if you decide to play this game for yourself. This Frieza fight is pretty rough for a tutorial. Realistically, you'll probably die here on your first time playing, as he's the first enemy you'll be facing. It definitely sets the tone, though. Yes, this game is far better than the last, but it is still pretty hard at times. The largest step up from the first game is apparent right off the bat here. The overhaul of not only the combat, but player movement as a whole. Fighting enemies in Legacy of Goku was a tortuous affair. Goku could only move very slowly in 4 directions. His attacks had no range or variety. Half your attacks would just fucking miss despite you blasting your arm straight through their chest. And then the whole game was just spamming solar flare and praying. None of that matters now anyway. It's all been fixed. You can now move in any direction. You have a dash activated with the traditional double tap. Your melee swings are now wide, sweeping arcs with pretty generous hitboxes. Enemies and players alike now recoil when hit, so you aren't just two 5 IQ slabs of meat slapping against each other in place. And the god-awful, barely existent level up and stat systems have been swapped out. The numbers are sensible and understandable, with a clear, concrete effect on gameplay, visible as the number that pops up over an opponent when you hit them. You have strength, which dictates physical attacks, power, which influences special attacks, and endurance, which is your defense. While there's still no equipment yet, you can raise these stats by a few extra points for individual characters by popping these single-use capsules you pick up or earn from side quests. And all of that was just the most basic systems. There are plenty more nice new features and changes we'll go over later. Gohan is startled awake by his nightmare, but to his dismay, that nightmare wasn't unwarranted. The Sun family gets a call from Krillin, who, like Gohan and the rest of the Z Fighters, is sensing a huge energy signature coming from space. An energy that is rather frigid and short. Gohan grabs his Saiyan armor from his time on Namek and heads out to meet with the others to try and stop Frieza. Look at this! Rather than being a linear, very limited adventure where backtracking was usually impossible, Legacy of Goku 2 takes its first strides towards being an actual RPG by having this cool pseudo 3D world map you can fly around to get to different areas or revisit old ones to find items and grind. The mountains near Frieza's ship are filled with robots courtesy of the Red Ribbon Army and rad tiger dudes in biker jackets. Now, this doesn't break canon or anything. There are animal people in the world of Dragon Ball, but I don't know, something about them just feels a little silly. The Red Ribbon mechs make way more sense, though, if you're familiar with where the story is about to be headed. Regular old animals continue to appear as enemies as well, but Webfoot surprisingly pulled into their big pile of DBZ tapes and yanked out a neat explanation for that. Gohan says that the Blackwater Mist from the Garlic Jr. filler arc is what's making these creatures so violent and powerful. The game even tells you when the animals in that area are affected, so you don't start swinging at random squirrels or something. After you get through the area, Gohan gets a chance to catch up with everyone about the situation. Yeah, the other characters are in the game properly now, and their portraits look a million times better. Some are still a bit scuffed, but it's a solid effort and another drastic increase in quality from whatever this was supposed to be. We have a string of cutscenes next, and I really can't fathom anyone clicking on this video that doesn't at least have a basic grasp of the plot of Dragon Ball, but I'll still be skimming through some of these plot-heavy sections, half because I just want you to see how well the game adapts the show, as I said earlier, and half because a lot of people are just on this channel for Mega Man videos, and I want them to be able to follow along too. An older Trunks appears from his ruined future, using his now trained-up Super Saiyan form to obliterate Frieza and his father King Cold in an instant. He calls out to Gohan and the gang, telling them that Goku is returning shortly and he knows where he'll be landing. Sure enough, Trunks is correct, and Goku arrives back home after drifting around space for months. It's amazing the details you know when things have already technically happened. Not wanting to accidentally time paradox himself, which we later learn is impossible because Dragon Ball time travel uses a sort of multiverse theory, Trunks insists on talking to Goku alone, to warn him of the apocalypse to come. When Goku was a child, he had numerous run-ins with an evil military organization called the Red Ribbon Army. One of their key members, Dr. Gero, managed to survive all these years later, and has created a pair of cyborgs called the androids. Yes, I know cyborgs and androids are not the same thing. I know it's a mess stemming from old localization choices. We've been dealing with it for over 20 years. It's fine. Trunks lets Goku know the eventual time and location of the android's arrival, alongside the even more alarming fact that he won't be able to help because Goku will be dead long before thanks to a heart virus. It's incurable in the present, but not in the future, so Trunks gives Goku a capsule containing the medicine he needs and returns to the future for now. So Goku and the gang find themselves with 3 years to get stronger and prepare for the android's attack. Gohan decides to train together with his dad and Piccolo, or not quite yet. Legacy of Goku 2 does a pretty decent job at fleshing out the world and working in its side content better than the last game did, at least. Inserting extra quests and areas to explore into the story to give the adventure a more more substantial length. Again, correcting an issue from the previous one. Levels are allowed to be more deliberate in their layout, since flight has been removed as a combat mechanic. It's for the best. Flight basically didn't work in the first game anyway, and having to balance every map around being able to totally break it would ruin any sort of flow or progression. West City, our next destination where we zoom over to find Piccolo, is huge, with tons of enterable buildings and extra quests to find, including one of the main bonus quests that lasts for the entire game, seeing the Z Fighters gather up 25 golden capsules for Capsule Corp. It's gonna take quite a while until near the end of the game, but if you find all of them, you're rewarded with another golden capsule. But this one lets you return to the world map from any outdoors location, a huge time saver when you're in the final stretch of the game. The other thing we should do before moving the story along is talk to Bulma and fetch some parts for her so she can prepare a scouter for us. The scouter is not only a map for all the regions you visit, but can also do the thing that scouters are known for, sensing power levels. Scanning any character in the game, main hero, generic mob, whatever, will give you that character's stats and whatever information Capsule Corp has on them, helping players brush up on characters and details you might not have known if you're newer to the series, especially if it's something that happened in the original Dragon Ball. Nobody in America watched that shit back then. Gohan saves a class of kids from a bus crash to eventually get the world martial arts champion Hercule a special sandwich, and it's best not to worry about the multi-step trade chain that leads to this point. I do like that Webfoot introduces Hercule and his pompous bullshit early on, making it seem less out of left field when he suddenly appears during the Cell games at the end. When he's got everything he needs, Mr. Satan moves his stupid parade float, and Gohan at last finds Piccolo, who instantly somehow gets roped into helping the farmers outside the city with their dinosaur problem. The dinosaur jungle is the first full level, so to speak. It's our introduction to the layout and gameplay loop the rest of the game follows. And the first time you'll need to start really worrying about these bars up here. Red is health, green is key energy, and the new blue meter visualizes the XP required till your next level up. Your key no longer rapidly regenerates, which sounds bad on the face of it, but is in reality a fantastic change. Goku's infinite projectile spam was the best and honestly only viable strategy in our last outing. So switching it to a proper resource system is a good alteration to make things more interesting. Now, this doesn't mean the game is filled with healing items. That's not till the next one. There's still only one usable item in the game that restores your stamina, Senzu Beans, which can only be gotten from Yajirobe and Korin in very small numbers at specific times. Alright, that's sort of a lie. There is one other thing that can heal you. You can get an infinite number of cookies from Bulma's mother if you talk to her at Capsule Corp. However, these chocolatey little treats are a joke item. You're allowed to hold 99 of them, and as long as you keep asking, she'll keep serving them up as long as you have the patience. The trick is that they restore a worthlessly small amount of HP. Even shoveling entire dozens of baked goods into your mouth will allow you to withstand maybe one additional hit. You'd think this would severely hurt the game or be seen as infuriating, but LOG2 surprisingly has a pretty solid resource economy balance, even without consumables. Immediate use healing items of various strengths drop randomly from environmental objects when they're broken, and this is where 99% of your recovery stems from. Save points don't heal you at all, and I don't believe there's anywhere you can go to rest or anything of the sort. Your only way to get back to fighting shape is to punch rocks until they drop a delicious chicken. I think this is a really good way to balance out healing and challenge. For one, it stops you from mindlessly out-healing bosses, forcing you to save your few Senzu Beans for serious emergencies. At the same time, it means that out in the world, even if you played a bit too carelessly, you aren't totally screwed, but you will have to try to find a safe place, then enter and re-enter the map a few times, respawning objects and hoping for drops until you're ready to fight again. It's a time-wasting punishment for playing poorly and being reckless, but not an overly severe one that will soft-lock you with no energy and force you to die and restart, in most cases anyway. Though now that we're talking about potentially being trapped, let's catch back up with Piccolo. I can see first-time players getting stuck in this section for a while. The beginning of this game in general is pretty hard if you haven't played before. You're a fragile green bean this early on, with access to one Senzu Bean up until now, and have no special techniques. The boss can be decently punishing at your level, with a lot of HP, and the only real way to combat it is to get good and learn the timing and movement for proper comboing. It takes some practice, and you have have to learn to use your strikes to steer your opponent clear of obstacles. Otherwise, your target might bounce off a wall, which gives them a few moments of invincibility where they can strike back. But dear lord, there are few things in gaming as satisfying as juggling a big boss for several seconds by keeping your timing right. Dinos properly subdued, Piccolo flies back towards the city, and I'm gonna show you this next part because it would sound like I'm bullshitting you if I just described it. Why did he just leave like that? Alright, now that these city-saving shenanigans are all squared away, we can finally get back to training for the androids. Maybe? No? Yep, there we go. I do love the little detail of the seasons changing over time around Goku's house. Thanks to their preparation, Gohan has learned the Masenko and Piccolo the Special Beam Cannon, giving each of them access to their first extra skill, which, fortunately going against what you might expect, are not all just reskins of the Kamehameha. The Masenko fires in an arcing bomb motion depending on how you charge it, and the Makanko Suppo can pierce multiple targets. You can also fly to Kame House nearby now with each character to learn a unique charged melee attack. These can be a big help not just because of their strength, but because of their increased range, considering you can't move at all when you're attacking under normal circumstances. Now that we can hold A properly, time to go search Amembo Island for the androids like Trunks said. The Punch Boys all reconvene outside the city, where they see Bulma holding a baby Trunks, and learn that Vegeta is his father. Can't really ask many questions about how that whole thing went down, cause he disappeared into space some time ago. He's probably just busy out there posing for the sickest fucking shot in this entire show. We switch control over to Vegeta for the first time here. He has his Big Bang attack, which causes an explosion that damages all enemies in its range, which is very useful when grinding in certain areas later on. But more interesting is the ability to go Super Saiyan, a skill that was sorely missing in Legacy of Goku 1. Once the plot deems it so, each of the 4 playable Saiyans can transform into the classic golden-haired state. While Super, your damage is increased what looks to be about 1.5 times, and even more helpful, you move at twice the speed, which greatly boosts your ability to rush down and combo enemies. Super Saiyan can be used when this tiny yellow meter is filled, as long as you have Ki and can perform the entire power-up animation without getting hit. The only drawback to this form is that you probably don't want to use it if your health is very low. Super Saiyan drains your Ki just by being active, so if you're in a situation where you really need to be safe and attack from a distance, it's not the best choice. You'll eat through your energy too quickly and... yeah. Goku and the others find one of the androids, alongside Dr. Gero himself, who converted his own body into an android as well. No fight here, unfortunately, despite the fact that Goku will eventually be a fully playable character. Not sure why that is. Even without our help, Goku is dominating until the heart virus suddenly becomes active and quickly wears his body down. Vegeta arrives back from his training right on time, saying as always that defeating Kakarot is my destiny. So he and the Doughboy go at it. Stay Puft here is our first major boss fight, and it can be kind of tricky because, accurate to the manga, he can absorb energy through the diodes on his palms, so hitting him with any Ki attack will restore his HP. It's alright, you should be using that Ki to rip him apart as a Super Saiyan anyway. Hang on a second. Turn that up a little bit. Oh, hell yeah. How have I gone this long without talking about the music? Look, I'm not interested in re-examining the controversies surrounding the old Falconer score right now. I know all that stuff, it's a disaster. Legacy of Goku 2 uses a lot of the major themes from the old Funimation dub, expertly mixed down to the GBA's level. Hell, in some cases I think they sound even better. I know some people loathe this soundtrack, but I can't get enough of it. I love watching Dragon Ball in all its forms, and while I will always respect the original Kikuchi score, this is what DBZ will always sound like in my head. Synthesizers, heavy percussion, the ominous aura. That gets me pumped to see this big marshmallow bastard get brutalized, and this game translates that music perfectly. Android 19 gets blown to pieces, and Dr. Gero flees. 2 screens away, and then we just beat the shit out of him too. This is also around the time you might want to consider using up some of your enhancement capsules. He hits damn hard, and even at level 20 or so, your punches ain't doing much. And in the next area, you're gonna really need the help. Before Gero's finished off, Trunks returns from the future to lend everyone a hand with the androids, only to wonder what the hell everyone is doing fighting an old man. 19 and 20 are not the androids he was talking about. 20 escapes in a confusion, and our heroes chase him further into the mountains. Oh boy. 10-year-old me is screaming inside. The hunt for the lab is probably the most infamous section of the game. The place where many a child with poor patience, including myself back in the day, would get stuck and end multiple playthroughs out of frustration. Roadblock 1. All these rabid animals and mechs start becoming much more densely grouped together. There are a lot of things around here that want to eat/pound your face, and there are a lot of them on each map, making it very easy to get careless and be surrounded. Roadblock 2. Dr. Gero will attack you out of nowhere multiple times, trapping you in the room and forcing you to fight him with whatever health and energy you have at the time. Roadblock 3. The direct path itself to the doctor's lab is guarded by a defense field that requires 3 generators be shut down. One of these is just sitting around somewhere. The next one is being blocked by a dinosaur and her eggs. I'm sure this sentence activated something in the memory of somebody just now. The Dragon Team decides to be nice and relocate the Dino Kids to the base of the mountain, and this is finicky with a capital F. If you take damage at all, the egg breaks and you have to go back up and restart. Realistically, only Vegeta could do this part, because you have to be a Super Saiyan for the speed boost. You can't dash or attack while holding an egg, so hurriedly trying to weave through when you can't even see the enemies half the time is your only option. Even getting yourself this far means you have to realize you can switch to Vegeta and turn Super Saiyan before you pick the eggs up, and it won't deactivate. This whole Super Saiyan thing means that you'll have to annoyingly recharge your ki after every attempt, and you have to perform this same task 3 times. The final power source is one of the most strange, out of place, what were they thinking choices I've been exposed to in a game intended for 13-year-olds. The generator is in the basement in the home of some douche named Vinny who won't stop blasting his brain rot music over the entire mountainside. Nearby in a cave, there are 6 switches, and you have to somehow figure out how to turn off Vinny's power from here so you can get down into his basement. If you talk to the people in the small village nearby, you'll get to read snippets of the lyrics to that annoying song. You're meant to notice that 3 colors are mentioned in said song once you talk to everybody, and flip only those switches. I genuinely don't think this ever registered to me as a kid, and I would always just trial and error flip switches randomly until it worked. This is kind of an odd quest to happen in a Dragon Ball game already, but there's one small aspect that you might have heard of even if you've never experienced LOG2 for yourself. Ted. There's an NPC in this small remote section of the mountain named Ted, who goes on about how much he cannot stand capitalism, consumerism. He's complaining about how much he hates modern technology. He then praises you for blowing up the generator at Vinny's house, saying that he likes your style. Guys, I'm like 95% sure they put the Unabomber in this anime video game. Well, now that I'm on an FBI watch list, we can reach the lab entrance. Dr. Gero activates androids 17 and 18 quickly out of desperation, and immediately learns why kidnapping 2 delinquent teens and giving them god powers was a bad fucking idea. 17 and 18 notice there's still one more storage pod in the room, but before they can do anything with it, Trunks blasts the place to hell in panicked PTSD horror at the thought of another evil robot he didn't know about. His efforts are for naught, however, as a 3rd prototype android, 16, is awakened anyway, and the trio leave, ignoring our team completely. Everyone knows Vegeta's a cute little attention whore, and he does not appreciate that, furiously rushing after them, and 18 steps up to play with the vegetable gremlin. But even as a Super Saiyan, Vegeta is painfully disarmed, while 17 knocks out everyone else. Piccolo, of all people, feeling completely cornered and desperate for power to stop these 3, leaves in a reluctant huff to merge with Kami, the Guardian of Earth from which he originally split decades ago. It's a big thing I do not have time to explain in this video. Kami, on his end, is in no rush to be assimilated back into Piccolo. He points out that in contrast to what Trunks said, the androids don't seem to be murdering anyone or destroying everything. They're just kind of being dicks. Something seems different. Maybe their early awakening and the presence of Android 16 in this timeline changed some aspect of their personalities. I mean, they could have just easily killed all the Z-Fighters if they wanted to, right? So he forces Piccolo to wait it out and see how everything plays from here. Back on the surface, Bulma gets a report regarding a strange Capsule Corp vehicle spotted in the wild. Trunks realizes that said vehicle is definitely his time machine, only much older and worn down somehow. Weirder, Trunks still has his time machine capsule with him, and there should only be one, so he and Gohan leave to check it out. Now is when Trunks joins as a playable unit. He can go Super Saiyan right off the bat, and his burning attack is our billionth example of how Webfoot learned something from their earlier screw-ups. The burning attack functions like a proper, less broken version of the Solar Flare from Legacy of Goku 1. You know when it affects an enemy now because you have to physically hit them with the blast, and also the AI isn't completely brainless, tricking you into thinking they're blinded, but actually they're just stupid. And when the stun is about to wear off, the target will flash for a second, giving you ample time to adjust. We find the remains of the time machine as well as an ew, gross, disgusting bug skin carcass thing that looks to have emerged from it. Around that same time, the news reports on a suburb called Gingertown that's been completely depopulated. Everyone has been killed by some sort of monster, and all that remains is their clothes, like something sucked them right out. While Kami isn't worried about the androids, he is terrified by this new threat and finally agrees to give himself up to be fused with Piccolo. As most Dragon Ball games do, they treat Piccolo's fusion with Kami as a transformation for gameplay reasons. His new Super Namek form works almost exactly the same as Super Saiyan. Now, let's go fight the literally murder-fueled Bugman. This creep's two main gimmicks are that he's far larger than the other characters for whatever reason, and that he can use his tail to drain your HP. The battle drags on until, in a moment of weakness, Piccolo loses his arm. In his potential final moments, seeing no way out, he asks the ugly cicada who the hell he is. We then get a huge exposition dump that I would be mad about if it wasn't literally the exact same thing that happens in the show. This horrific creature is Cell. He was created by Dr. Gero from the DNA of all the strongest fighters who have ever been on Earth. He was designed to absorb 17 and 18, at which point he will become, in his own words, perfect. Cell won't technically be complete until several years from now, and in his future, the androids have already been killed. So he snuck up on his timeline's version of Trunks, killed him, and stole his time machine to come back to when they were still around. Piccolo thanks Cell for that lovely exposition dump, and then just grows his arm back, same as he's done in the past. Soon the rest of our heroes arrive as well, having sensed the battle, and so outnumbered, Cell escapes. Shortly after, the meds finally work their magic and Goku recovers. The Z-Fighters try and figure out a way they can get strong enough to beat the androids and Cell before things escalate too far. Goku mentions the hyperbolic time chamber. It's a pocket dimension on Kami's lookout where time dilation is quite severe. A single day in the outside world equates to a whole year inside the chamber. Vegeta and Trunks enter together first to train, while Piccolo, being the strongest good guy at the moment, goes to stall the androids who are still looking for Goku. Each of the characters has a kind of final boss that caps off their relevance to the story. This is Piccolo's final boss, his showdown with Android 17. Earlier, I said Piccolo's transformation was almost the same as the Saiyans. This is where that difference is really gonna matter. While his strength boost might be a little bit lower, he gets passive health regeneration, which is vitally important to this battle with Android 17 because it goes on for quite a bit over multiple arenas. Make sure to scoop up the healing items as soon as you can and don't save them for later because there's a chance the island you're stepping on will... A whole bunch of story advancement happens. Cell pops in to take advantage of 17's weakened state. 16 steps in to try and stop them because despite being a big stoic robot, he's actually a pretty nice guy. 17 is overly cocky and gets slurped up anyway. Tien, a character I've not even mentioned by name because he might be the most shafted character in Dragon Ball history, rushes in and saves the day by using every shred of energy he has to distract Cell long enough for 16 and 18 to escape. Goku, knowing he's no match for Cell right now, uses his instant transmission technique to warp in, grab Piccolo and Tien, and retreat before Cell can even really understand what happened. And just in time, Vegeta and Trunks exit the time chamber and leave to defeat Cell, while Goku and Gohan enter, knowing Vegeta's probably gonna fuck this up somehow. Father and son head to the archipelago where Cell is hunting 18. This is the game's second big spike in challenge. The amount of monsters around here is ridiculous overkill, to be honest. If you want to see Vegeta get eaten by goddamn alligators, this is the place. You might decide to try and rush through here when you're in danger, but Webfoot went very lore accurate here in a way that I very much appreciate, but still hurts. Vegeta and Trunks have achieved new levels of Super Saiyan known as Grade 2 and Grade 3. Both of these forms increase their bulk considerably, and the speed lost from this is an important story beat later on. Translated to gameplay, whenever either fighter turns Super Saiyan, they now become glued to the fucking ground. And there's an experience gate at the end, so you're gonna have to stick around a little longer than you'd probably like to. A bit of training and a lot of patience later, Vegeta and Trunks both get their final boss moment here. Both of them against Cell. The pair are far stronger than semi-perfect Cell, and Vegeta clowns on him hard. However, upon hearing that Cell could get even more powerful if he absorbed Android 18, Vegeta's pride gets the better of him, and he helps Cell escape and go find her, in spite of Trunks pleading with his father to not be an arrogant jackass just one time. Predictably, Cell becomes perfect, then wipes out Vegeta with little difficulty, and soon does the same to Trunks. I know I said it's irritating, but I do really like the gameplay story mix here. I love that you have to physically experience the mistake that is Super Saiyan Grade 3 and how slow it makes you. Deciding that he wants one last real challenge for his new form, likely because of all that Saiyan DNA floating around in him, Cell announces to the world that he'll be holding the Cell Games, a tournament set to take place in 10 days to find someone worthy of his time. And just as the declaration is made, Goku and Gohan return from the hyperbolic time chamber. 90% of the way through the game with his name on it, Goku joins the party. It's crazy how after the horrible pacing and gameplay problems brought on by being locked to him in the first game, LOG2 makes you excited to play as Goku again, building up the anticipation for the main protagonist's big return. Goku, I missed you so much, Hey. Have you been out drinking again? It's those new figures you've been hanging around with, isn't it? Isn't it? You need better influences, some good model, upstanding figures. Like those new guys over there. Say hello to Figgies, from the lads and lasses behind First Four Figures. Figgies are a pixelated cross between a figure and a pin, with magnets built right into the back. Each Figgies is paired with a metal backing card that displays a fitting, unique background for each character, and on the reverse side, a shared set pattern if you want your figures to match. But I heard from your mom that you don't even match your socks, so good luck with that. Each package has a random chance to hide an extra chase card in either bronze, silver, or gold designs. Figgies display on these sturdy little stands, or if you're criminally short on desk space like I am, they can be effortlessly mounted to almost any surface with the stickable 3M magnet included in the box. Each week, new Figgy sets will be launched, with the official website displaying live countdowns to each release alongside secretive silhouettes to give you a guess at what's coming next. Mega Man, Sonic, Silent Hill, Metal Gear, Metaphor, Persona, and tons more on the way. Even I'm surprised by some of these upcoming sets, and I'm the one pitching them to you. You can support the channel by using my code KNIJOHN for a 5% discount on any order over $50. Thanks to Figgies for offering me this opportunity to partner with them, and thanks to you all for even getting me to the point where I'm offered opportunities like this. Goku has all of his techniques right away. A short teleport punch, the Kamehameha, and the most busted move in the game, the Spirit Bomb. You can charge it with as much ki as you have, then roll that thing across the field where it will nuke the screen and then stun every enemy in the area. Kinda tough to pull off because of how long of a charge it requires, but incredibly fun and satisfying. And the only thing to do with all that power is an endgame fetch quest. When Kami recombined with Piccolo, the Dragon Balls were deactivated, and we're gonna need them to resurrect all the people Cell killed. Goku uses instant transmission to go to New Namek and grab Dende, the Namekian boy who helped them against Frieza, to take Kami's place as the new Guardian of Earth. Dende can re-energize the Dragon Balls, but we'll have to go collect them all first. This mostly involves going to previous locations and opening up level gates that were previously sealed, either due to not being strong enough or lacking the correct character. There are some new encounters and areas as well, like taking out Cyber Tao at a secret ninja castle. Plus, it gives you an excuse to use Goku for a while. It's barely recycled content, so I'll spare it the ding today. Oh, right, there's been a few, but they haven't been a problem until now. The level gates. Around the world are random obstacles that can only be broken by a specific person with a specific power level. The level gates can be a little frustrating, and they are certainly a very video gamey, artificial sort of roadblock, but as a method of making sure you're using all the characters and not just skipping past every fight, it's fine and won't take you more than an extra 10 minutes or so sometimes, unless you're trying to unlock everything. Every character except for Goku has a door somewhere in the world that requires them to be at the level cap of 50 to open it. Inside each room will be a statue that gets displayed at the Capsule Corp Garden. Once you hit about level 40, there will no longer be any place you can go to that is scaled to your level, so the XP drops become pitiful. But on top of that, you should know, if you've never played this game, that everyone other than Goku will naturally be in the mid-30s by this point. So yes, this takes way too damn long. Around 3 hours if I had to put a number to it. Why would you ever bother with this? So, Hercule is a secret unlockable character in this game. You can't really experience any story things with him because you get Goku's statue by finishing the game. He is every bit as depressingly weak as you imagine he would be. He has no transformation, his stats are in the fucking gutter, and he has no offensive special techniques whatsoever. His only upside is that he has the most busted skill in the entire game. For a very small amount of ki, he'll strike a pose, and every enemy on screen will freeze. You could do this as often as you want, as many times as you want, making Hercule functionally invincible, but still a chore to play as because he hits like a fucking octogenarian. It's a fun Easter egg, don't get me wrong, but our boy Mark doesn't seem to have a purpose. Then again, the game did also cut to the TV station when he was unlocked. Oh, come on! All you get is a jokey little interview with Hercule about saving the world that serves as an alternate ending. I don't know what I was expecting, but I can't believe I just wasted the time to grind that shit to talk about it for 5 seconds. Well, now that everyone's max level and I'm sick of playing the game, let's wrap this up, huh? Dende restores the Dragon Balls and everyone meets the Cell Games arena for the finale. I do wish there was something for me to say about the final boss and the ending as a whole, but really it's just story from here on out. The champ makes an ass of himself, Goku fights Cell, surrenders, then subs in Gohan when he realizes he isn't strong enough. Cell releases his Cell Juniors to piss Gohan off, Android 16 dies, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Goku's sacrifice, final Kamehameha struggle with Vegeta assisting at the last second. The ending follows the established canon pretty closely, but as I said, it's mostly cutscenes. I do like that they have you control the battle against the Cell Juniors, giving you one last chance to play as everyone during the climax. But I was so over-leveled by the time I got here that even Super Perfect Cell, the final boss, went down in seconds. Of course, that's not the game's fault. Once Cell is disintegrated, the game doesn't end. Instead, you're given Goku's statue, then plopped back into the world map to finish up the side quests and fight the secret postgame boss, who you should recall from the start of our adventure. All around the planet are 7 Namekians who were left behind for whatever reason when their world was restored. Once you save all of them, you can board a capsule ship alongside them to New Namek. Now, no matter what he said earlier, coming here with any character, you can also find a temple on the far side where Cooler is waiting for his revenge. If I had not reached level 50, then fought him with a turbo juiced up Gohan who I gave 24 capsule injections, it feels like Cooler would be a pretty tough post-game boss. But I did do that, so. I was genuinely pretty stunned by how well Legacy of Goku 2 held up. Usually when I revisit games from my childhood for content, my entire worldview is shattered and I end up liking them much less than I remember. Hell, if anything, Legacy of Goku 2 was better than I remember, since the difficulty spikes are a lot more manageable now that I'm older. The leap from the first game to this one is universal. I have to give credit to the people at Webfoot who were able to come out of that husk of a lazy licensed game and give us an adventure that not only looks and sounds amazing, has a fun if simple central gameplay loop, and tells the story of the anime just about as well as you could hope for, but shows in all the little extras and references that the developers did try to pay attention to the source material. They did care about making a game for Dragon Ball Z fans. The game was so well received, in fact, that it stands as the only Western-developed Dragon Ball game to be ported to Japan as Legacy of Goku 2 International. Is the game a masterpiece? Of course not. There is still a bit of early Dragon Ball game weirdness, little canon mistakes and the like. There's the detours early on, mostly the city section, that can be a bit much if you just want to jump into the main plot. I also wish there was a teeny smidge more content. Namek would have been much better as an endgame, fully explorable area with tougher enemies you could use to grind to max level, rather than wasting this entire sprite set on a singular room. It's also odd that we never get to see the inside of the time chamber. I mean, it's a white void, it couldn't have been that hard to implement some basic training sessions or something. At least a boss showing when Gohan goes Super Saiyan for the first time against Goku would have been cool. While I'm on the subject of content in Goku, there really isn't anything to do with him. You get him a half hour before the final boss, and then he dies and can't be used anymore. I genuinely played as Hercule farming XP longer than I used Goku at all. This is probably why they just nixed Goku's name from the third game. But as always with game development, corners have to be cut for various reasons, and the final product doesn't horribly suffer from any of these issues or omissions. Legacy of Goku 2 is a game absolutely worth playing for any Dragon Ball fans who don't mind their action RPGs a bit on the archaic side. But we're not quite done with Legacy of Goku yet, are we? Webfoot wasn't ready to stop just yet. After all, they still had one last saga to cover, and it was by far the longest and most over-the-top one yet.